Momoko's Musings, Finding Good Things in the Strangest Places, written by Momoko, posted sometime prior to October 2007. So I was feeling stuck lately, worrying about how inadequate I am at speaking in everyday conversations, not sure how to say something in different ways or different degrees of politeness, and frustrated that the materials I have, for example, manga, magazines, even bilingual Japanese/English books, seem a bit too advanced for my level right now. How to bridge that gap between beginner and intermediate? Then I stumbled upon something that's perfect for me in the most unlikely of places. Chugokugo ni Muchu, Engrossed in Chinese, is a beginner book for Japanese learners of Chinese, made up of simple dialogue and accompanying cartoons. It ended up in our home because Khatzumoto is learning Chinese right now, laddering up from Japanese. I, on the other hand, am using it in the opposite way that its authors intended, as a way to learn Japanese. My Chinese is intermediate level, so I can use that Chinese part to check my understanding of the Japanese. It's a fun alternative to English translations. Oddly, I find it to be an ideal tool for learning Japanese conversation. First of all, since it's a book for beginners of Chinese, the Japanese translations reflect the simplicity of the Chinese dialogues. In addition, because of some accident in format, there are two Japanese translations of the same Chinese dialogue, one that's more colloquial in the cartoon version, and one that's more polite in the text-only version. I guess cartoons, where the visual humor has more of an impact, lend themselves more to slang, while pure text tends to be more formal. This coincidence is fabulous for me. For each piece of dialogue, I have two examples of how to say the same thing. Score! Because of the comic format, I also get more gradual introduction to humor in Japanese. I mean, sometimes the humor is a bit flat, as textbook material can often be, or I still don't get it, but it's definitely good training for recognizing and judging comedy in another language. In addition, there are short articles on aspects of Chinese culture at the end of each dialogue. The writing here is more formal and uses longer sentences and more advanced vocabulary than the dialogue, so it could help me prepare to read Japanese books after I finish the dialogue. And when I've mastered Japanese, hopefully that day isn't too far away, I can go back and use this book to beef up my Chinese. Yes, that's right, Japanese materials for learning other languages can be just as valuable for learning Japanese itself. The programs on NHK, Japan's public television program, to help viewers learn English, French, and Chinese are a perfect example of this. Often, the presenters spend more time discussing, in Japanese, the grammar points of the meaning of sentences than they do speaking the target language. If you live in Japan, you can browse the language magazines section of your local bookstore and find magazines devoted to various languages. English is the most common. Inside you'll find dialogues, celebrity interviews, newspaper articles, stories, and even recipes of varying levels of difficulty that are often accompanied by Japanese translations. NHK also publishes excellent, short, and cheap serialized books, a new one for each month, for learning other languages. I don't expect that this particular book will be of value for anyone else. It reflects my own current needs and my interest in China, but I hope the principle at least can carry over. Acquiring one language doesn't mean you have to ignore other interests, area of knowledge, or countries that seem to be unrelated. Finally, on a more general level, never be afraid to try something new and unorthodox when other things aren't working. As long as it has Japanese in it and it appeals to you, you're going to learn something.